There's an ancient operating system that power players never fully disclosed. While you're wrestling your own thoughts into submission, they deployed an invisible protocol that makes the mind work like a trained weapon. And no, it has nothing to do with meditation apps or positive thinking garbage. How to install the system that transforms your mind from enemy into personal army. We've reached the part that separates information consumers from power implementers. Because knowing your mind can work for you is one thing. Installing the operating system that makes it happen is entirely different territory. First move, you're going to create what the ancients called an observation protocol. For 3 days, every time your mind fires a disturbing thought, you don't react. You log it. Just register. No judgment. No attempt to change anything. You're mapping territory before conquest. Second move is the most counterintuitive. You're going to thank every negative thought. Literally. Thanks for alerting me about this. Sounds absurd until you realize you're reprogramming the relationship with your own consciousness. You're signaling to your brain, we're allies, not adversaries. NSYS Rule 51 states, sometimes you're wrong. Apply this internally. Are your thoughts always wrong? No, always right? Also no, they're a stream of probabilities and signals. Your job isn't believing all of them or rejecting all of them. It's filtering signal from noise. Here's the system in action. Doubt thought appears about important project. First, you observe without reacting. Second, you thank the alert. Third, you ask, what does this thought want me to do? Usually, it's something practical like, review the plan, or get second opinion. It's not quit, or you're a failure. Masters of this game discovered something powerful. When you treat thoughts as advisors instead of dictators, you extract wisdom and discard poison. It's like having an internal committee where you're the CEO. Everyone can speak, but you decide. There's a specific technique used by high-level operators. They personify different types of thoughts. Anxiety becomes risk consultant. Anger becomes boundary violation detector. Doubt becomes quality analyst. When you name and position these voices, you strip their absolute power and gain strategic clarity. The final part of the system is about directed action. Every insight your mind generates needs to become either decision or planning. If it doesn't become action, you're just ruminating. And rumination is the opposite of power. It's energy wasted in infinite loop. Here's the irony. You spent your whole life thinking negative thoughts were the problem. But the problem was always not knowing how to use the most sophisticated tool you have. Your mind is a supercomputer processing millions of variables. You were just reading the data wrong. What happens when you finally decode what your mind has been trying to tell you all along? If you installed the protocol mentally right now, drop installed in the comments. Real question. After all this, what will you do differently today with your thoughts? Hit like if this video shifted something in you. Subscribe for power strategies nobody else reveals, and share this with someone who needs to stop fighting their own mind. What if total control lies in accepting you never had control? Here's the truth nobody wants to accept. You never controlled your mind. Never. And the harder you tried, the more it dominated you. The ancient system of absolute power begins exactly where your illusion of control ends. Power Law 17 teaches, keep others in suspended terror by cultivating unpredictability. But there's an internal version of this that's pure mental alchemy. When you stop trying to control every thought, you gain something far more valuable, influence over where your attention goes. Think of it this way, you don't control cars on the street, but you control where you drive. You don't control weather, but you choose whether to leave home with an umbrella. Your mind works the same. Thoughts will appear, always. Power lies in choosing which ones you follow, and which ones you let pass like clouds. The Stoics practiced something that seems counterintuitive. They intentionally visualized the worst possible scenarios, not to torture themselves, but to strip power from the unknown. When you've already mentally visited the worst that can happen, fear loses its paralyzing force. That's reverse engineering of terror. There's something fascinating about how real power operates. Great strategists don't suppress fear, anger, or doubt. They create protocols. If I feel anxiety about X, I'll do Y. If doubt appears about Z, I'll consult W. They transform emotional reactions into automatic response systems. Here's the base protocol. Every time your mind fires an alert, you stop and ask three things. 1. Does this thought bring new information? 2. Does it point to concrete action? 3. Is it serving me now? If the answer to all three is no, you thank the mind and redirect attention. Sounds too simple? It is. The ancient system was always simple. Complicated is what they sell you. Do therapy for 10 years. Meditate 3 hours daily. Take these supplements. All valid, but the base structure is ridiculously straightforward. Treat your mind as data source, not reality. Judge. The disturbing part. You probably already use this technique in some life areas without noticing. When you're driving and the car starts making strange noise, you don't enter existential panic. You notice, process, and decide next steps. Same logic applies to thoughts. What changes when you stop fighting your mind and start working with it? There's one more layer to the system that few discover. Why your bad thoughts are your greatest untapped asset. Let's talk about something that'll flip your head inside out. Those thoughts that torment you, that inner voice always pointing out what can go wrong. It's not factory defect. It's high-precision defense system operating in misaligned mode. The mistake isn't how you were programmed to interpret mental signals. Anxiety isn't weakness. It's hypervigilance without defined target. Doubt isn't insecurity. It's inadequate information processing. Your mind is screaming data, and you're covering your ears. There's a rarely discussed theory about why historical leaders seem to have nerves of steel. It wasn't because they didn't feel fear or doubt. It was because they developed a specific technique of mental translation. They took the same chaos that paralyzes common people and extracted pure strategic intelligence. NSYS Rule 39 says, there are no coincidences. Apply this to your thoughts. That recurring worry about money? It's not neurosis. It's your internal system signaling you need financial plan B. That fear of being betrayed? Emotional radar detecting signals your conscious part ignored. The ancient system worked like this. Every negative thought was treated as intelligence report. Not as problem to eliminate, but as data to process. The difference between power and powerlessness lies in this interpretation shift. Let me tell you something about the power game. While the masses try to silence the mind with positive affirmations and breathing techniques, those who truly dominate the board do the opposite. They amplify signals. They interrogate every disturbing thought until extracting the useful information hidden there. Ever notice how great strategists always seem prepared? It's not a gift. It's because they use anxiety as scenario simulator. Every catastrophic what if becomes planning exercise. Every worry becomes contingency protocol. There's a silent conspiracy happening in your head right now. Your thoughts are trying to save you, and you're treating them as enemies. This perception inversion is the difference between living defensively and taking absolute control of your life. The question nobody asks you, what if all your mental suffering is just misinterpreted signal? What if the solution isn't silencing the mind, but finally starting to hear what it's really saying? The next step shows you exactly how to do this. If this resonates, type protocol in the comments. Tell me, what thought dominates you most right now? Like this video if you're catching this paradigm shift, and subscribe to Access Strategies Nobody Teaches You, how to stop being hostage to your own head using the protocol of the invisible ones. Ever notice you spend more time fighting your thoughts than actually living? Anxiety knocking at 3 in the morning. Doubts hammering when you need to decide. Fear whispering you're going to fail. And there you are, trying to silence all this with willpower. Spoiler, doesn't work. Here's what nobody tells you. The power elite discovered centuries ago that fighting the mind is the game of the weak. They learned something different. Transform mental chaos into fuel. There's an ancient protocol, used by strategists who shaped empires, that completely inverts this game. Power Law 48 speaks about assuming formlessness. Know what that means in practice. Your mind is like water. You don't control water by punching it. You channel it. And the masters of this art realize the secret isn't suffocating bad thoughts, but redirecting all that energy where you want to go. Think about it. A Roman general didn't enter battle trying not to feel fear. He used fear as radar. Every obsessive thought was a signal of where to fortify defenses. Every anxiety, a map of what needed attention. They didn't combat the mind, they hacked the system. The problem with modern self-help is they sell you control. Think positive, silence the mind, meditate. But that's like trying to stop a river with your hands. The ancient system works differently. You don't stop the river, you build a hydroelectric plant. There's a specific technique that transforms intrusive thoughts into strategic advantage. It's not about repressing, it's about reprogramming. When your mind fires 1,000 catastrophic scenarios, it's showing you every weak point in your plan. Use that. The Stoics had a phrase, "The obstacle is the way," but they weren't talking about empty motivational phrases. They were describing mental technology. Every thought that disturbs you is a treasure map. Every worry is a coordinate of where you need to act. Here's something disturbing. Maybe your mind was never your enemy. Maybe you just don't know how to read the signals it sends. And while you waste energy fighting it, others are using those same signals to dominate their lives. Are you ready to discover how to transform your mind into an ally? Disclaimer: this content presents personal and mental development techniques based on historical philosophies and power strategies. The information is for educational and reflective purposes. Each person should adapt concepts to their individual reality and seek professional support when necessary.